Hello, I'm Kathy from Chilled Mama, and I've got a message for you if you are getting ready to start introducing your baby to solid foods. Weaning, I know, can be a very stressful time. There's lots of advice and information out there, and it can seem really confusing and stressful, what to feed them, when, how, and so on. And then some of it's conflicting. Do you do a plan? Do you have to introduce one food at a time? Can you just go straight in? What are these signs of readiness? And are they important? When should you do it? And my main message to you is don't worry about it. And there are two reasons not to worry about weaning. And the first is you almost can't do it wrong. Okay, whatever way you decide to feed your baby. I love baby-led weaning. I've done it all. My eldest is 22, almost 23, and they go right. I've got 5 children, go right the way down to 8. And so the first ones I was doing the purees, and at 4 months I did the whole, pureeing the food, putting them in ice cubes, putting them in the freezer. So I've done that. My next two, my middle two, were and wait to 6 months, but still start with purees. And with my youngest, it was baby-led weaning. And I love baby-led weaning. It's so easy. But you have to work out what's right for you. There are lots of benefits to baby-led weaning, but lots of parents spoon feed their spoon feed, or perhaps do a mixture of the two. And giving at least some finger food does help your baby to build their skills, and also it helps them to get used to the textures of the different foods. And they like to have a bit of control over their eating. The second reason not to worry about it is actually if you worry, it can make it more difficult. If you worry, your baby will pick up on your stress, and it can become a bit of a vicious circle. You are stressed. Come on, baby, please eat some more. Baby, why won't my baby eat my food? And your baby feels your stress and their tummy tightens, and then they don't eat as much. They don't want to eat. So then you get more worried about how much, or rather how little your baby is eating, and perhaps you try and entice them, find different ways to entice them to eat more. But they're not actually hungry because they're too stressed to eat. And we know that if we're worried, we can't eat much. The day before, sometimes whether it's going on holiday or starting a job, we can't eat if we're worrying about somebody or something. So try not to worry. Your responsibility is to cook the food and provide the food, and to provide a nice environment of eating, a conducive environment, preferably at the same time as you. Not always possible, but preferably, so that you're setting the example that it's nice to sit and eat together. But it's their responsibility to actually eat the food. And so try not to worry. If they eat, they eat. If they don't, they don't. And until about the age of 1, they pretty much get all their nutrition from the milk, whether it's breast or formula. Even after 1, milk still provides an awful lot of their nutrition. It's still an important part of their diet. They still got, the figure here is 30% of their nutrition comes from their milk, but it varies depending on the actual nutrition. So calcium, they get 80% of their calcium from their milk feeds, whereas iron, it's much lower. So the first few months of weaning are actually about getting used to new textures and new tastes. And baby-led weaning is really good for that. But that's what it's about, getting them used to those different tastes and textures. And so that by the time they actually do need to be having more than milk. They've got used to it, and they become more skilled, and they're used to the different tastes and textures. And once they're 6 months, they can have pretty much anything that you have. So they can have curries, they can have shepherd's pie, they can have pizza, they can have scrambled egg on toast, Weetabix with cow's milk. Just moving my words down. Remember, the only foods not recommended for is honey before they're 1, and then shellfish and swordfish until they're 2. And watch out for salt and sugar. But apart from that, have fun. Give them lots of tastes and textures to try. And don't worry about what they eat. Babies are also, it's worth remembering, they're people. So, and some of them, they're like us. So some of us like to have a big breakfast and some of us don't want to eat till mid-morning. So watch and see what your baby's pattern is. And that can be really helpful in reducing the worry, because you may find, I certainly found with my children, there'll be one meal time when they'd eat loads, and one meal time when they didn't eat that much, and one meal time when that really there's almost no point putting food in front of them. And different for each child. But if you know what their pattern is, then you can match that. So if they eat a lot at breakfast, then that's when you get the protein and the iron in. They have sausages for breakfast, or they have eggs. If it's lunchtime, well, they can have their main meal then. And obviously, if it's dinner, it's a little bit easier. And then you don't worry so much what they're eating for breakfast or what they're eating for lunch. And they're still having their milk as well. So you will also find during the first year that there will be at least once where they won't eat anything for a week, maybe even 2 weeks. They barely eat any solid food, having been really good eaters or getting there. And that's fine. That's okay, because they've still got the milk and they'll probably have more milk, but that's fine. They could be ill, they could be teething. You don't know. You have to trust them, because what are you going to do? You end up getting stressed and then you get into a vicious circle again. And you've trusted your baby up until now. They've told you when they're full, and they've told you when they've had enough. And so you just need to carry on with that. Eating is a skill and it takes time to learn. And just like the early days of feeding, you and your baby will do this together. And the more you can relax and enjoy this new adventure, I promise you, the easier it will be. If you would like to learn more about introducing your baby to solid foods, I do online webinars. And if you're local to Bedfordshire, I'm just north of Luton, I do face-to-face workshops, and I can come to your house and do one for you and your friends. There's more details on my website, which is chilledmama.co.uk. Thank you very much. Bye.